Hello there, everyone, and welcome to Crystallize, the show where I get the wonderful opportunity of sitting down on what I call a virtual park bench in my own personal rose garden with amazing humans. We get to share stories of crystal clarity and the connections that make it all possible. I'm your host, Teresa Rose, and as always, before we dive into our conversation, let's all just take a few breaths together as we sit down on this bench together and we arrive in the moment. Life is so precious. We slow the pace of life down just a little bit, and we clear our minds of the to-do lists and the noise and the distractions and really open our hearts for another fabulous conversation today. And I am so very excited to share with you an amazing human, and you are going to get to know Nicole Martin. Nicole Martin is Chief Empowerment Officer and founder of HR Boost, LLC. It's an HR shared services consulting firm based in Chicago, Illinois. HR Boost has been recognized as Crain's Best Places to Work in 2023. Congratulations. The Positive Leadership Institute honored her in 2023 with the Positive Leadership Award globally. This is given to champions with forward-thinking management practices that help employees, teams, and organizations thrive. In order to be chosen among 24 in the world and 22 for a Positive Leadership Award, she was actually one of Mirror Review's 10 game-changing women in 2019. Awardee for Business Excellence by the Chicago Daily Herald, and a 2016 Enterprising Woman of the Year champion by Enterprising Women magazine. A sought-after expert, her knowledge and advice have been featured in newspapers and magazines throughout the country. In addition, Nicole is the host online of HR in the Fast Lane and contributing writer for the Chicago Business Journal. Nicole has numerous published works and has received an International Literary Award and Amazon bestseller status. Her books, The Talent Emergency, the accompanying Talent Emergency Guidebook, The Human Side of Profitability, The Power of Joy and Purpose, No Fear Negotiation for Women, which I've read all of these. In 2021, Nicole was awarded 2 Best Speaker Awards from Star Conferences for keynote presentations in Japan and France. Nicole resides in the northern suburbs of Illinois with her delightful husband and 2 young sons. She serves on a number of boards dedicated to human capital, culture, and HR excellence, which is her bailiwick, of which include Best and Brightest Companies to Work For, Social Service in the Community, and Women in Business. Welcome, Nicole, to here we are at Crystallize. Nice to see you.
Yes, it's so lovely to always see you too, darling. And you know that I send you all my love and, being one of your former clients where you crystallized my vision and everything we did together. You're just a gifted woman out there. And I absolutely love just spending qualitative time with you. Since we can't be in person like we have been before, it's nice for us to just reach across the virtual screen and bring the coasts together. And we just take this pause. I love the way that you started. Just, that joyful moment, just pausing, catching our breath, just bringing us to this present moment, which we're granted,
Exactly.
And it's always a delight to just be with you virtually or otherwise, Teresa. So this is something I'm looking forward to.
Well, right back at you, lady, because you just light things on fire. I mean, ever since I first you came across my orbit, I have been just so wildly impressed with your vision and your heart and your, what my mother would call stick-to-itiveness, and your ability to manifest dreams into reality. That is what I see you do with HR Boost and the organization that you have. And just give us a little bit of an explainer of what does your organization do for businesses?
Well, essentially, I founded the business over 14 years ago now, so I'll be at my 15th year next year. But it's where we basically meet the middle market, at their pace and budget, right? And we provide these HR services to them. We primarily serve businesses with 1 to 500 employees right now, and we kind of meet them and just really get in there, a la carte, project or retainer. But about 80% of our portfolio here is retainer business. And then we work ourselves out of a job, essentially, building something sustainable, building something for them where they can grow and scale and flex their HR strategy, which right now we know, Teresa, and you might know it being in business all these years, companies have strategic plans. They have operational plans. But if they don't have a strategic culture plan, then their operation plan and their strategy can just wah, 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 right?
Yep.
Especially
Totally.
today in the talent emergency, which I wrote about many years ago. A lot of people are still feeling and learning that it's an emergency with the skilled talent across our country right now. Where do they find that skilled talent? Where boomers have one foot out the door and now are, consistently moving towards retirement. Succession plans didn't happen. All of this, right? We had COVID and everybody's past that and the world has changed. We all know that. But now it's like this is exacerbated challenge, right? To the next generation that we're bringing in, right? And then having these remote workplaces, and how do we bridge everybody across the generations, across distances and geography? And it's still where people are, those boundaries have all been loosened up across not even the United States, but globally, right? With places like Upwork and Fiverr and all these different virtual freelance markets now. And freelancing has become the future. It's like where HR, for these middle market companies, we help them attract talent, retain talent, build HR departments from scratch, and then become a best and brightest company to work for, ideally, right? And that's what we do.
You know what's so great about what you do? There's a lot, but what always strikes me about it is most organizations, they are experts at products and services, right? They know what the services that they offer well, some of them don't, because that's where brand crystallization comes in. But, they by and large know why they've gotten into business and what they deliver, right? They know they deliver the products, either B2C, B2B, and they know the services that they offer. And that's their expertise. What I see often is it's not only the other divisions that they don't, get energy around, clarity around, focus around, with certainly sales and marketing and operations and finance. But with you and HR Boost, it's like you're this web of process, of vision, strategy, process, and people that really allow all of those divisions to talk to each other. Absolutely. And work with each other in harmony so they can actually accomplish all these big dreams that they have. You can't do it without the people.
Right. Well, people really are the difference. If, I've been in executive conference rooms for years, right? Been in my field for a long time in HR, and it's where companies buy and sell, and there's lots of merger and acquisition activity out there right now. And it's where there's all these big dreams about how we're going to scale the business, and then how we're going to sell, and then all these investors that come to the table and they acquire and they buy and they acquire and they buy. But then what they don't realize is that, siloization just gets completely reinstilled. And how do we keep the we versus the I going? And that's where HR, when it comes together, it can be like that integration, like I said, that we kind of come together with, especially now with all the diversity and all the challenges and divisiveness that's out there, right, Teresa? It's that culture invitation. This is why people come to us and why they work and get their God-given graces at work. But then how do we tap into their discretionary, right? Their extra, and so that they're not side gigging.
Yes.
But they're freelancing. Yep. But maybe how do we get 100% of them here? And really at shared creation. It should be shared creation after we hear the culture invitation. And then really people are invited to put their handprint on it, feel bigger, in terms of putting their efforts towards something bigger than themselves that we created together, that we ultimately understand. I can't be the know-it-all. I can't know everything, right? It's like you and I were at a table together. You have some talents and graces. I have some talent and graces. We both have knowledge and experience. But it isn't me and you, it's we. And then come to the table, we discuss in collaboration. The definition of collaboration is you brought something, I brought something, we commiserate, we think, we come, we co-create, and then something new comes out of it. And that's innovation, right? Yes, and that innovation and that creation that comes out of people coming together and working together, thinking together, being influenced and changed by one another, right? Ever learning, unlearning, and relearning. Yeah. That is what business wants. So they always have that entrepreneurial spirit that comes out of innovation and creation, even as companies grow and become so big, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I've seen it where that can be the opportunity if people think of it that way.
Right. And the other thing that's so great about what you're doing is, you're a sought after speaker in your own right, as I said in the introduction. And you go so much further than other speakers that I have known that talk about culture or talk about, talent retention. You're actually not only teeing up in your speaking the importance of mastering the talent emergency and really leveraging it as we are in the marketplace today, and you're also offering a fractional HR solution that not only tells them, works with them to get to, okay, now how are you going to actually do it? And you even have resources that are going to help them with who is going to do it. So you're really giving this incredible end-to-end solution in a problem that a lot of people are experiencing right now, which I think is hugely valuable.
Right. Well, it's because we deliver people.
Right.
We deliver people that are skilled, that are talented, that have experience, that aren't about them being the me show, that I'm the consultant and I'm the fancy person who shows up, right, with this great wisdom and advice. No, I
Yep.
get in there and get my hands dirty. I get to know the team, and then we create something that's right here that might be the low hanging fruit that nobody has the time to do because, like, for example, we had a client that just signed on with us that's a non-for-profit, right? And a not-for-profit entity, they really are stretched thin. There's many people wearing many hats, and it's where they really are happy then to say, yes, here, you take that. But the
Mm-hmm.
idea is that we don't want to just take it and check the box, right? We're not software as a service. We're not a 1-800 number. Yes, we're there, but we don't want to become just the firewall that everything comes on and then we're firefighting like a
Yep.
lot of people that are in-house. We want to actually come and create something that it's out of the team that's here with those people, then with that experience we drive.
Yeah.
But then once it's ready to maintain, we give it back.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's
Yeah.
maintainable and then it's sustainable when it can be maintained.
Yeah.
And the essence of the integration, the consultation or the freelancing integration fractionally is that we're trying to get in there maybe right now so you get that expertise that you don't have on your payroll because a lot of small mid-market companies don't have senior level HR people, who have that six-figure salary maybe somewhere else, right? And they don't have that budget. But then
Right.
we give it to them, like I said, at their pace, their budget, so that they actually can access it, turn it on, and then we can work with them. And that's what's so exciting because I love underdogs. I don't know about you, Teresa, but I love
Mm-hmm.
underdogs, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love small middle market companies because you can feel the energy in the room. You can actually change quicker. They're more adaptive. And what's so great about that is that they can get vulnerable faster. They can change faster. They can engage people faster. And what happens is they can really create something that is so tangible in the air, but intangible to steal.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
not copy and paste culture. It's like something that's priceless. It's right here. And then once they have that, that's when you have something that is really a competitive advantage in a small environment because people can get poached, as we say. They might
Yep.
get a call. Somebody sees their LinkedIn. They're like, come and work for me. And I've got this and I can double your salary. Well,
Mm-hmm.
guess if you have somebody that's in that environment that I just explained, they're not for sale anymore. They won't come work for you because they love what they're doing right here. They're alive. They feel challenged. They feel empowered and engaged with the people they work with. And that is a priceless thing. The prior generation, like they used to say, this is your job, this is your work. Well, that's not reality anymore.
Right.
And people really have changed, as you know, how they define quality, especially after COVID. And I don't know, everybody just defined the meaning of their life differently and started to realize time is short and life is valuable. And it wasn't about the paycheck necessarily once you're past that original, just put the roof over your head and food. And, once you get past that, it's really, well, do I like what I do? And does it work around my life? And a lot has really become more lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
not job and experience, not the credentials that I have, but does it suit my lifestyle? Does it suit the things that I want to do in my day and in my week? And companies have had to completely change how they approach talent because I love actually the change because it makes companies have to put their heart first.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
which never was the case. And now companies are really going to have to speak to, no, really, what do we do here? What makes us special? And some companies are still learning how to say it out loud or even see it. And that's what we love is come in. Sometimes it's better to have an outsider come in and see that, feel it, and then just affirm it, make sure that I hear you right.
Yes.
And then you can create and put it out there. And that's something that even working with you, Teresa, over the years, when I grew my business, my $1 million boutique business, right, over all these years, and then I'm deciding like I'm going to be franchising it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then moving in that direction. And that was something I didn't foresee. Even being in it, it was so there for me. But how do we slow down and put it in a compartmental way to decentralize it and put it to the people so they can latch on to it?
Yeah.
And that's something that you have done for me, even with your gifts. And that's what we talk about crystallizing it, right? And that to me is something everybody can benefit from. But even us coming in from an HR perspective, we almost help them crystallize it, but not
Yep.
with your,
Yep.
not your blessing and gift, but a different lens of just that metaphor of how we can come in and we can help them do that with HR, because HR really, it shouldn't be the police department or the therapist's office, right? It should really be these sustainable processes you said earlier
Mm-hmm.
through the people in order to create something so that it's consistently applied. People can identify with it, latch on to it, and then take it forward to more people.
Right, right. And when I hear you and see you talk about this, I'm so aware of how potent it is when you show up in that genuine place of care, of service, of transparency, of partnership, and most importantly, of love.
Yeah.
Right. And because there's other people that can do elements of what each one of us does. Right.
Sure.
There's
Sure.
tons of people that do brand work. There's tons of people that do HR work, but do they have that unique, one of a kind presence and energy and vibration of true heart-centered service? Because when you can tap into that place of like, life is short, I want to have meaning in my life, and I want to have you have meaning in your life, and I'm going to bring every gift and talent I can to the table. That heart-centered, heart-focused, heart-led work that you do and that I do, I think is really the difference. Right? Between people saying yes and people saying no, and people being able to really truly adopt it, is that they feel what you're saying.
Yes.
Right?
And I think that feel, if you couldn't like exclamation point and underline that word even more than like if I could just, woo, yes, feel. Yeah. Because feel is really how you make a lasting, impact on somebody. Mm-hmm. If you can make them feel something and hopefully make them feel something positive. And maybe if you're lucky enough, you can raise the vibration, right? Yep. And maybe you can actually have a situation. Something just happened to me this morning, actually. It was uncanny. This is a good example. So I just was at like a company this morning. And when I was there, I literally met somebody from a training video that I watched recently, and I recognized him from the video.
Okay.
So to me, I'm thinking, here's a person that has great energy. I saw him on a training video that was important for this company. And I thought that I did not know him, but he was memorable immediately, even from a video, right? Mm-hmm. That energy, he was authentic in that video, and he was memorable. And so immediately he happened to just walk into the room that I was sitting in this morning. And I right away said to him, I gave him the trigger word. I said, I saw you in a video last week, and oh my gosh, I just loved your energy. It was great. And it's so nice to see you. And he right away looked back at me, Teresa, no joke. And he goes, I know you. And I'm like, you do? And I was like, how do we know each other, right? He says, you came in and you did a culture interview with my boss and somebody else is coming. He took me back. Okay, it is 2024 right now. He took me back to, I think, 2013.
Wow.
I have not seen this person since 2013. I didn't necessarily remember or recognize him, but boy, did he remember me. And I've aged a few in those years. Let me tell you, I was surprised. And I said back to him, oh my gosh, I can't believe you remember me. And he goes, oh yeah, I remember. And you were this person, you were tied to that person. Blah, blah. And we brought it full circle into those kismet moments where it's undeniable that this moment was divine intervention or something. You're just meant to run into each other again. And that happened to me this morning. And that is a perfect example of how when you were just authentically in your own skin and you're talking to someone eye to eye, like you and I are, even across the digital borders right now.
Yep.
It's all about relationships today. People are not brand loyal. People aren't listening to these automated messages that come in anymore. People have more noise and traffic than they ever have before. And if they're like me, they're like, delete, block, spam, like, give me a break. Yep. And honestly, it's really about when people connect now. Mm-hmm. And did they connect to a deep enough level that I know you?
Yep.
And I don't have to maybe have been in your home or know your children or anything like that, but I know you. We spend enough qualitative time commiserating where I know what you're about, you know what I'm about, and we can just benefit one another in time. And if you have that out there, it doesn't matter how much time passes. This example, right? Years.
Yep.
The point is that you've made an impression on me, and I know who you are. And once that happens, it's magnetic, it's transformative. And people also have to have the grace and self-forgiveness to give it time to understand that timing is everything. And even though you can have, even though you can have an impact and a connection and feel something and even maybe run into the talent, have people work for you, it doesn't mean it's forever. And I think sometimes people can look at turnover as regrettable. And I think regrettable turnover is when we didn't get what was the deal out of this, whatever this is. And what I mean by that is that you can have somebody leave your organization, but that might have been what they accomplished when they were there with your organization. And it was okay maybe if you're the stepping stone because they learned something while they were here, they invested, and you gave them wings.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't always look at it that way. But I'm sort of like, even that could become your culture invitation. Because if people are learning in your environment, but you have a turning door and maybe the door revolves every 2 years, right? Maybe that seat's always revolving every 2 years. But some people would say, well, that's a problem. And I would say, I don't know, that's an opportunity.
Right. Fresh blood, new voices.
Younger people, you go to the younger people and you could say, come and learn with us. We're experts and you're going to get your hands dirty. You're going to learn here. We're going to teach you. And then guess what? You can go out and you can get that next thing. And just always know that maybe we're the ground where they come and learn on. And that right there is something to know about your company or know about yourself. And then put words around it and turn it into the culture invitation. And that is a good example of how you can feel and touch somebody's life. And it can be fluid, though. It doesn't have to be the stick-to-itiveness that it had in the past. Mm-hmm. And really, for generations, people really, as you know, worked for a company forever, and we don't see that anymore. But I think you have to have such a fluidity to it that you're looking at it from that lens now, but also the lens of where you're sourcing talent. And so when you're sourcing talent and partners, you might be able not to hire enough people to fill all the roles that you need or all the pains that you have. And this is really where HR is going to be going in the future, is changing all kinds of policies internally in order to allow a company to hire not only the 1099s, but also hire the W-2s, but also hire maybe the W-8s internationally and also the W-9s, right? So I just jumped a number of tax classifications on forms. But the bottom line is that you're going to have a team that only aligns on the culture invitation.
I love
because
that.
We're not going to be able to, you're not going to be able to get everybody through just your contractors and consultants or just your employees. You're really going to have to build a team that accomplishes the mission. And they're going to come from different places now, geographically, physically, and also maybe from a tax revenue basis of how they're classified. On the payroll, so to speak, so that you actually build a cohesive, holistic team that has shared values.
Right.
Only through the shared values that they have can you maybe get it growing as far as you need it to grow for some of these really aggressive, fast-paced companies that are out there moving really fast and acquiring and scaling and trying to bring people along. It's getting that culture invitation and the shared values where everybody knows what those are and attaches to them, and my personal values attached to that. Then I can feel party to it, even if maybe the ambassador of it, the founder, the person who really, spoke it from their heart, even if they're really far away or maybe even not here with us any longer. If I have that story, then the story can be reinvigorated, told again, and recapture people again and
Yeah.
again and
Yeah.
again. But the
You
story,
brought up something so important that I just want to acknowledge, and that is your vision of the fluidity, I think, is really important because the culture out there in talent management is retain talent at all costs. And what I love about what you said is, as somebody who has, as all of us have, we have had loss. We have
yeah.
had relationships that we thought were going to be forever, and they're
Mm-hmm.
not. We've
Mm-hmm.
had opportunities that we thought were going to be the thing, and they don't end up being. And the pain, as I'm watching the occasional TikTok video, the pain that we often experience is the tension between knowing that we've outgrown that situation, or that situation is not aligned for whatever reason, or they leave, right? Whatever it is, that is the thing that is so painful. The tension and the anxiety and the negative impact is us holding on
Mm-hmm.
to the fantasy that we should have it at all costs and we should keep it forever. The reality is life is transitory,
Mm-hmm.
and it does move in and out. And so if you can approach your culture as an invitation, here it is of who we are and what we do and how we serve and why we want you to be a part of it and what we value. It's the same thing as relationships. We're showing, because that's what it is. It's just
Yeah.
one big organizational set of relationships, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So if you approach it with the notion of, yes, I might get my heart broken by this person that I'm going to train up and I'm going to bring involved and I'm going to have them involved for the next year and a half, and then they leave, is not only a loss. It's their next thing. It's our next thing. It's letting go of that holding on too hard, that I think is a really
Oh,
revolutionary
yeah.
way of looking at it.
Well, and especially because change is the only thing that's inevitable and guaranteed
Yep.
in life. Change is
Yep.
everywhere, and it's moving so fast now. I don't
Yeah.
know. Change
Crazy
is
town.
everywhere, and I think what this also speaks to is leadership. And so leaders really, if they're caring about wherever they're at working, they're already doing contingency planning, and they're already trying to replace themselves or safeguard an organization from losing them. And in essence, you'll see them already building people around them.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't realize that it's natural leadership where other people will start to gravitate towards somebody that teaches, that gives, that builds, right? They skill build, they brand build, they organizational build, they trust build, right? These are the cornerstones of managers of choice. And managers don't manage people. Nobody manages people. People do what they want to do. But leaders understand that we can manage processes. And when we let people understand what those processes are, then people will manage to those processes. And so the idea is that you never hang on to anything too long, because God forbid, if you don't, it's going to be outdated. We know that.
Yep.
And so we have to build people for change. And there's a great book out there right now called Change Intelligence, and the author is going to be keynoting at the Best and Brightest Summit in March in Detroit. And her book is so great because it really helps companies just understand that everybody changes at different places and we all do this differently, right? And the idea is sometimes we're just helping people cope through trauma of change.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are still stuck, as you say, holding on to things. People are stuck from trauma.
Yep.
From what's happening outside in the world. There's wars happening. There's all kinds of divisiveness. There's just people are still traumatized by what happened in COVID, and we're a few years past that now.
Yep.
It is truly where people can't handle much more if they're stuck in trauma. And
Yep.
so it's really understanding that. And I just think if people can understand people are traumatized and they're stuck in and maybe hanging on to things because of that.
Yep.
If we can help people feel safe, and psychological safety within organizations is such a huge thing that we have yet to overcome. But if we can get people to feel comfortable enough with one another to just talk about if we feel safe and what we're threatened by and those fears, boy, can we really harmonize in a whole new way. And that's the trajectory of where we need to go.
Yep.
That's what's ahead of us, is if we can get all of us being honest with each other, and talking about whatever it is that we're worried about, and getting comfortable saying, I don't know, right? I don't know the answer, but hey, I'm willing to listen and let's talk and learn. That would be great, right? Yep. Because we don't all need to be smartest.
Right.
The future is being defined as we move and talk right now, and it's something we don't even recognize yet. And so I really think if we can get comfortable with that, being a bunch of people that are vulnerable, that don't maybe know the answer right now, and are you feeling okay? Because I'm feeling okay. And okay, maybe we need to slow down. I talk fast, I know that. So I always tell people, I can pause and rewind and replay. You just got to let me know that you didn't catch something, right? So come with a disclaimer, and then maybe help people along.
Yeah. Well, that creating psychological safety is step number one. So when I do my crystallization work, as you know, I treat it as strategically sacred work, and to really hold a powerful and solid, trusted space so that they can show up 100%, because process definition is a skill that you can go through, and you can identify what roles and responsibilities are and what they need to do. The reality is, if you don't come from that initial place of honoring and of safety and of openness and really just that give and take of we're all human, we're all just doing the best that we can, right? We're all doing the best that we can, and our hearts are in the right place. That's where I really see that you and your whole team shine. And I just really honor that, because it's it's critical, it's essential. And that's why you've been so successful. It's not just because you're a brainiac about HR processes and strategy and team allocation and all that. It's your heart that leads you. At least my perception is of you. And
thank you.
What I would love to do is go into an area that you know is near to dear and dear to my heart, is clarity and the connections that make it all possible. Because I am a firm, staunch supporter of we need to understand what we're dealing with. We need to know what our gifts and talents are. We need to know what we want and crystallize those things down. Let's talk about a crystallized moment of clarity in your life. Do you ever remember what is one thing that just rocked you to your core about what you suddenly gained insight on, and how did that change your life?
I can just take my example of working with you. How's that?
Oh, well, that sounds fantastic. I didn't plant that. I didn't plant that, but
no, you didn't, but I'm happy to share. So I remember meeting you, and I remember thinking, how you're drawn to people, right? So you might be drawn to people, and you should always listen to your intuition. That's the first thing. And so I think as long as you're walking as an open human being, you're getting symbols and signs and things all the time that are telling you what you should do. And your intuition is letting you know. The question is if you listen to it lately. So when I met you, Teresa, we were connected through somebody else who we both knew. And we had maybe just a minute with each other, but boy, did my intuition say I needed to reach out to you. And so you and I talked, and then I came out to meet with you, and I was moving really fast where I knew I'd hit $1 million in revenue in my business. I really wanted to franchise my business. And it was really where I was telling my team this, and I have these 20 people who latch on, 15 years we're coasting in one direction, right? But I had already grown out of my position, but didn't realize it. Right? And I'm communicating like many of us do. We all are out there communicating, and we're communicating. We think, I told them people aren't hearing me. Why didn't they hear me? Do any of you have that problem? Okay. So I back up and digress. And so I had that situation. That's when I met Teresa, and she's talking about this crystallization retreat that she does and what she does. And I was just thinking, I just need to get away. And so I went to Minnesota when you were in Minnesota at the time. And I came and I took a weekend, and I'm a busy mom working, running, all these different things. And boy, when you can just take silence and take a moment away, and you just ask for everything I'd ever done. Well, that's a question. If you ever get that question, boy, try and sum that up. And so basically we did that and dreamt it all in a Dropbox that I had anything tangible. And
92 things, by the way. There were 92. You literally win, Nicole. There is no one who I have crystallized, and I've crystallized dozens of organizations, has had more content than yours.
Well, I'll take
that's a good thing.
My
That's a
husband
good
will
thing.
crack up about that. Um, and so you do all of that, but then you give someone the chance to sponge it. And that's what you do a really good job. You're just a natural, um, intuitive listener, but then also you took it in and sponged it. I don't know how else to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're also felt, I got with you and you felt my energy. You saw me move. You did all these things with me. We spent at least a full weekend together, and in both professional and personal environment, go to dinner together, have
Yep.
wine together, all of that. And you do all that. And it's interesting because then you bring your magic essence out. And that was transformative for me because then you just, you give it trust, right? You go into any of these things, and by then I'd probably had some trust, but you still always have that doubt. Like, what are you
Yep.
getting out of this deal? Will I get what I need? You might not even know what you need, right?
Yep.
And we get there, and all of a sudden, Teresa gave me back a new logo. You summed it up in a visual image first, and then you ultimately extrapolated and gave it back to me in a concise way, which
Mm-hmm.
I am not concise, I am loquacious.
Right.
And when you gave it back to me concise, I realized this visualization. Oh my gosh, I have changed. And I have to slow down and back up and rewind and to explain to my team, we don't just have HR Boost.
That's
We
right.
have HR Boost Plus.
Yep.
Now I have HR Boost Us. And we didn't even name HR Boost Us. I named it out loud talking with you. And when
Mm-hmm.
I said it, I started to cry.
I
And
remember.
I realized that's the name of the franchise, HR Boost US or Us.
Mm-hmm.
And when we did that, I all of a sudden had 3 verticals, not 1,
Mm-hmm.
3.
Yep.
That was a transformative moment for me. It was extremely visually clarifying,
Mm-hmm.
but also got me to a point of clarity where I could express it in the way that I just did, but then explain to my team furthermore what HR Boost is, what HR Boost Plus is, and what HR Boost Us is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is life changing. And it happens when you take the time to share yourself 100% with somebody else and then shut up and let them give it back to you and audit that, hear that,
Mm-hmm.
reconcile that, tweak it. And once you hear it, sometimes you get that clarity of knowing what needs to be done, which always requires two-way
Yep.
communication.
Exactly. Exactly. I have found every moment of clarity that I have had in my life had a connection to someone that was the key that unlocked it, right? We
Mm,
don't just suddenly get to like, oh, I now have clarity.
no.
It's a spouse, it's a best friend, it's a therapist, it's a coach, right?
Yeah.
It's somebody who has helped you see what you have not seen,
Yes. See
right?
yourself. It's dignity. When we talk about people, everybody, loneliness is an epidemic right now. Suicide is on the rise.
Yep. Yep.
And I just think seeing people with dignity and
Yep.
not just passing by, not just thanks and moving on, right? It's no, I see you and how are you? And the basics of dignity that we've lost with the speed of just the world.
Yep.
Dignity is so important, but really taking time. Like we took time, we invested and we
Yep.
committed in what we did for me to reach my clarity. But I think anytime you can take time, which is caring, time is money,
Yep.
to be with somebody, to just be with them and not feel rushed and not feel like you're trying to get to the next thing and
Yep.
truly just show up without an open agenda even and let the meeting take shape, you will have changed the way that person feels, and you will have allowed them to feel your presence, which is
Yeah.
more important than being present, my favorite thing, presence. And that can be transformative for every human you come across.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Preach that, sister. I want to end with one thing that I'm doing with all of my guests is I always do these cocktail napkins when I do my
Yes,
speaking
you do.
events.
You do. That's the logo. I had it on a cocktail napkin, you guys. She did. She put it on a cocktail napkin. No
It
joke.
works. It works. When you can draw it, you can sell it anywhere, anytime to anyone. And what I do in these interviews is I do my own little quick little cocktail napkin for each guest. And so I want to show you what yours is, which is obviously not the HR Boost one. It's the Nicole Martin one. And
Ooh.
this is what it is. It says, you crystallized. And what I see of you is
Oh.
three main words that jump out to me.
Ooh.
One is innovative. You are an innovative thinker in the area of talent management and talent excellence. And you're industrious. The amount of work that you put in, and the just the hustle and the grind and the power that you bring, and that all of that is on top of that is just, you are an inspiring woman. You are such an incredible leader, and an incredible mother and wife and sister and colleague and friend. And I just think you are spectacular. So thank you for being on my show.
Oh, I just love spending time with you today, Teresa. I'm just hoping we get in the same zip code. And one of these days, I'm going to get to one of these fabulous places like Bali, like you, and just be on a
Yeah.
with you and crystallize like crazy together, celebrate life.
Well, I hope so, because I'm one of my upcoming yummy initiatives is my first Crystal Circle retreat, in-person retreat. So I would love it if you were there, because you are just such a fireball and you lead with your heart every single
Oh my
time.
God.
So for those of you that want to find you, where can they go?
Well, I'm definitely on LinkedIn, so you can find me there. hrboost.com is my business. NicoleMartin.live is like my passions, my speaking, my books, things that I have out there, publications. But I'm always approachable, and I do meet and greets openly. I don't know about you, Teresa, but I actually have carved out time on my calendar for people to just automatically book always, no matter how
Yep.
busy I am, because you learn so much from just talking to people who want to talk to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can add goodness into the world, and you never know what
Yes.
kind of opportunities show up. So
Oftentimes you're helping people. You're just helping
yeah.
their good synergy go.
Exactly, exactly. So
Yes.
everyone go to hrboost.com if you are a business that wants to check out some of this revolutionary thought on HR management, and check out NicoleMartin.live. She's an incredible speaker, very inspiring, great stories. Can't wait for you to get to know her a little bit more. And I want to hear from you, dear listeners. Why don't you share with me your biggest takeaways from this delightful conversation
Mm.
with this delightful human? You can come to my Instagram page at Teresa Rose Presents, and all the other places. There'sarose.com is my homepage. My hope is that you will put the insights that you've heard today and turn them into inspired action yourself. Because we remember, when life gets tough, confusing, or overwhelming, there is one sure way to elevate and move through it, and that is to crystallize. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you, like me, make it an amazing day. Bye-bye.
Beautiful.